Hello, everybody. My name is David Feldman-Makrias, and today, what I want to talk about is a surefire way that, excuse me, your service-based business or your online agency or your freelance business or what have you, or even a local business or a client will for sure lose money. Let's get right into it. So we know the old adage, right? The old adage, time is money. And it's true, especially when you're in a service-based business because all you really have to sell is your ideas and your time or your ability to make revenue for someone else. That could be a higher funnel, a higher level medium, a mid-level medium, or a mid-level funnel or a low funnel. Depends on what kind of service you offer, at least in the digital marketing space. But I'm gonna show you guys something that just drives me insane because it's like I don't understand why people just can't think about it. It really shows, the lack of emotional awareness in humanity. If you're to get down deep like that, but with that, I want to show you exactly what to avoid if your business is in the business of making money in a service related industry. This literally happened to me yesterday. It's going to be a quick win here. So, this is an email. Okay. This is an email, and it was literally forwarded to me from a colleague in an agency that I have consulted for. And this literally is an email from someone forwarding me information about a client request. And this is how backwards it is, okay? So let's start with the subject line. Forward, colon. Oh my god. Drives me nuts. Let's just keep going. Here's your forwarded information. Obviously, the emails are blacked out because of privacy. Here's the original forwarded email. This is the part from the client. You designed a new header for our email in Vin. Would you be able to design a banner header for each brand? Blank is especially picky when it comes to mystery shops and only want to see their brand on eBlast. Thank you. So let's start from the client. All the rest of this is just signature information that's blacked out. Let's start from the client. So this is the original client thread, right? The client actually gave us insight, and the client knows at this point, we've been working together with this client for years. So the client knows our capability and what we understand. So this is actually for someone that's in the industry, and for who she's emailing, it's something that is descriptive enough. But you have to have somebody that is excuse me, you have to have someone answering this that actually kind of understands what they're doing. The problem is with agencies, if it's a high turnover agency or has any turnover at all, which can happen in agency life, um, that is going to impact the situation because if an intern looked at this, they don't understand what's going on here. They have to make sense of it. And that's why the use of a coordinator or a project manager, not really even project manager, really just coordinator or lackey, um, that's where they would come into play. But so what do we need here? Well, we need a new header for an email in a certain system. Um, it's the header banner, and she explains a little bit why. So it's not very descriptive, and it's not really even the client at this point. This happens all over the place, and literally, if it's not communicated correctly, you're just dumping money out the door. What the frustrating part that happened was the person that forwarded it to me is supposed to act as the coordinator. What did they do? They didn't. Okay, let's break this down from a perspective here. Forward. Well, I probably average anywhere from 100 to 300, 150 to 300 emails a day. So, what the hell does forward mean? ah, like I have to look up constantly um, specific things about specific clients and try and keep them organized. What the hell is Forward going to do for me? I don't care if I'm using a project management system like Monday.com, Asana, Trello, it doesn't matter. What is that going to do for me? The coordinator should be able to understand, okay, even if the client just shot an email to me, okay, and I know what to do, I need to physically explain what to do, because even though maybe I'm forwarding that email to someone that knows what to do, what if they need additional assistance? And, like, where's the explanation? Where is anything? You're literally just passing the message, and there's no thought at all. So this is what it's a repetitive task, but these are some of the items that we should fix. So what should this be? Forward. What I would do, I like to stick to a few things here, and I actually have them here. Here's what you need in any creative request, and you can make forms. You could do a lot of different things in order to streamline this process. First, you need the client. Who is this for? In anywhere, if a new person is looking at this, they have no idea who it's for. Okay. So first you need the client. Then you need the creative. Okay, well, that's sort of depicted in this situation. So you know what? Let's copy and paste this. Let's actually put it at the top. Who's the client? Okay, ABC client. Whatever, doesn't matter in this instance. What is the creative? Well, the creative, you designed a new header for our email in Vin. Would you be able to design a banner header for each brand? So email banner header Vin, which is the specific software solution. Deadline. Notice that the client didn't give a deadline. So if the client doesn't give a deadline, I automatically make that as standard, right? And standard would be 24 to 48 hours, let's say, for this specific. It depends on the creative. It depends on the stuff that goes into it. But we're going to say 24 to 48 hours for this instance. Direction. Direction basically means, like, okay, what exactly do we need to do? This brand is especially picky when it comes to mystery shops and only wants to see their brand on e-blasts. So I would literally take this part here. You could copy it in here. It's not that hard. Would you be able to design a banner header for each brand, especially picky when it comes to mystery shops and only want to see their brand in e-blast? Thank you. And then you can add to this note each brand are the following. Or we could say, make this creative for the following brands: brand A, brand B, brand C. Then you could say, note, brand C needs to be this way, whatever that is, just something. And really, this note here, if you really have an industry niche and you're very, very specific about what needs to happen, your crew or your team would know all these little custom notes, and you should have them somewhere, because that's just going to keep coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. Okay, specs. So that's like size and things like that. I'll say specs, size. Well, it's going to be Vin email, C specs, C spec sheet. And again, you should have a spec sheet too. Compliance pre-approval. Does it necessarily need to go to compliance and pre-approval? Should be, I'll just say yes. That means that it is something that the brand manufacturer guidelines are going to look at. Must-haves. Usually, I'll say normal must-haves. You should have a must-have sheet. Do clients specifically want certain things? Yes, they do. They definitely do. And you know what I would even do? These fonts are weird. So I'm not highlighting anything. So what I would do is create this in normal. And really, what the right thing to do, because it's a little confusing, I like to color code. Does it take a little bit extra time? Yeah, maybe it takes me an extra minute. But it helps differentiate the message here. And it's really, really nice when you receive that from people. It shows that you actually care. So I would differentiate all this stuff. It doesn't even take me a minute, it takes me 30 seconds. NA. There you go. That's all you have to do. And then whoever receives this can reference below. They have specific direction that's standard. And then, so now the client has specific direction. They're not the client has specific direction, but it's all given, right? And I would even change the subject line to client acronym, creative, and then deadline. Very, very uniform, very easy to understand and see. That's what a good coordinator actually sums up, right? And honestly, you may not need this process if you have a form to fill out, right? If you have an entire form dedicated to like a creative request form that nobody can submit creatives for, but still, I don't believe that the client should have to do that all the time. I like the idea of servicing. You should have someone to help the client kind of articulate what they want because they don't always understand and know all that, and that can lead to extra frustration, which leads to over time to massive turnover. If you can service the client in the best way possible, you can almost read their mind and you know what to do and they don't have to think about anything. That is true serviceability. So do I necessarily think that the client needs to fill all this out? Well, they need to give us a minimum, right? They need to give us what the creative is. They need to at least understand what type of direction that they're giving. And if we have a long-standing relationship with the client, we should be able to fill in the rest like I just did here. But those expectations need to be mapped out over time. Literally, if you don't do this and you have emails like this and you're just forwarding things, you are throwing money out the window. You're throwing it out the window because now it's forwarded to me and I have to put it together. Well, maybe my average salary is way different than the person that forwarded this to me. Well, let me tell you, it is. Maybe maybe this goes to a person that's new, doesn't really know what to do, doesn't really understand, the process is broken, and then they need to fix everything and they need to learn on the fly, and it takes them all freaking day to do one thing. That's happened many, many times. Again, the process, it's got to be an assembly line. Now, I'm going to reiterate, the client, I don't believe, should have to fill all this in. They need to give a minimum. That's how I kind of look at it. Like, and I'll put this here. Clients need to give minimum direction if relationship is strong and there's confidence in client managers. The client shouldn't have to tell me what the specs are. Example, the client shouldn't have to tell me what the specs are. The client shouldn't have to tell me compliance pre-approval based on their description. The client shouldn't have to tell me must-haves. The client could have other comments. So the client minimums are really creative, like what's needed for what platform. Deadline, and direction, like any other thing, and then other comments. Like maybe there's custom specs on something we haven't done before or what have you. That's what they need to include. That's what a client should include, I believe. Now it can vary from situation to situation, but that's what's needed from them. And the person knowing that should be able to ask and understand exactly what's needed. But guess what? If you have the proper, guess what? If you have the proper, um, brand guidelines in this situation, a spec sheet and a must-have sheet, then you'll be okay. And those I would imagine to be dynamic. Those should be constantly updating and shown when it's updated. You could put it on a Google Doc. So uh, there should be documents outlining the following for each request. There should be a spec sheet, like a Instagram post is 1200 by 628 or whatever. I don't even know if that's the right size anymore. But you get what I'm saying. I think maybe it's a square. 600 by 600. I know what Google Post is. Google Post, 600 by 600. Confidence. There should be, and this is an example, there should be a must have sheet. Client A prefers these colors. Use these logos on this type of creative. Dot, dot, dot. Whatever it is, whatever the rules of the client are, and you learn those over time. And then there must be a compliance pre-approval sheet. Best practices for OEM guidelines. That's something a coordinator can put in together to make these sheets dynamic so they live in a place where everybody can easily access them from anywhere. Those are internal documents. I'll call it internal documents in this situation. So this is your request request criteria, let's say. Okay. Your client minimums, what they need to give you, and then your internal documents to fill out the rest. When you have, and I'm going to say live documents that everyone can access easily. Google Doc, Sheet, whatever. These are ways to save time. So that way, when you have multiple interns that are new, they can easily get set up in this situation and follow the formula. It's simple. When you have this, it'll go a lot smoother. And you'll find that things get done a lot quicker. You'll have less edits. You'll have less urgency. And you won't be pouring your money out the freaking window. Again, if you want to avoid pouring your money out the window and make money correctly, if you're in any type of creative and service-based client medium, follow this as a guideline. It'll help you immensely. So, all right, hopefully that helps. And don't pour your money out the window. Save it, keep it, invest it, and grow it. This is David Feldman-Makrias, and I'll see you soon.